Our final segment concerns characteristics advertised as amenities on Airbnb. The Washington Post published their article titled, Airbnb Apologizes After Mississippi Slave Cabin is Listed as Luxury Getaway on August 2nd. In the interest of accuracy and credulity, I'll just quote the Post article, which states that the facility contained, quote, exquisite antique furnishings, soft linens, a brand new bathroom, and access to Netflix on the smart TV. But there was something else about the Panther Burn Cottage that the luxury listing proudly advertised. The property was an 1830s slave cabin that housed enslaved people at a plantation in Greenville, Mississippi. This listing was outed on Friday, July 29th in a TikTok video by Wynton Yates, a New Orleans lawyer specializing in entertainment and civil rights law. By Monday, Airbnb apologized and stated that they are, quote, removing listings that are known to include former slave quarters in the United States. Before turning to sociological considerations, note that some might wonder, what's all the fuss about? The property has erased the earlier nature of the facility, so it bears no real physical resemblance to slave quarters. And it's clear the patrons are pleased. As the Post article noted, in March, one guest wrote, quote, what a delightful place to step into history, Southern hospitality, and stay a night or two. Other reviewers were similarly impressed. Why not repurpose the slave quarters? What would be better? Tearing it all down, building something else, and then renting it out to short-term visitors? To answer these questions, we have to begin by plainly and directly identifying the stark reality of slavery. Slave quarters were, among other things, sites of assault, torture, rape, and murder. The people forced to live in that housing had no power to resist and no civil authority to whom they could appeal. Thus, slave quarters in the U.S. are akin to other sites of human rights atrocities around the world. Who would book lodging proudly advertised as La Escuela Superior de Mecánica de la Armada in Buenos Aires, a detention center used for violent interrogations, torture, and murder during Argentina's military dictatorship? Or how about Hotel Auschwitz? Would we deem it appropriate to rent out or book lodging in the rehabbed cabins of the death camps? The inappropriateness of using an Argentinian torture chamber or a German death camp as a luxury hotel is obvious to the vast majority of Americans. And that's a good thing. But for some reason, an American in possession of an American site of a decades-long assault, rape, torture, and murder thinks the most profitable use of such a property is to rent it out to vacationers. And that owner lives in a society so dismissive of the African American experience and brutality of slavery that they believe that the site's status as a slave cabin is an amenity worthy of note in the advertisement. And enough Americans see no problem with such a use of a site whose very existence and use was a daily violent assault on a people, that the property gains overnight visitors who leave rave reviews. This mixture of insight and blindness, of seeing the atrocities committed by distant others clearly, but remaining blind to the atrocities committed by one's own kind, is a result of what sociologists regard as processes of collective memory. How nations manage those processes of collective memory go a long way to determining the health and collective efficacy of the nation. Now, in no case has a country seamlessly and without conflict addressed the atrocities committed at their hand. But some countries have done a much better job than others. Sociologists Geneviève Zubrzycki and Anna Woźny note that at one pole stands Germany, which offered an imperfect but still exemplary response to the Holocaust. At the opposite pole stands Turkey, and countries like Turkey that completely deny even the occurrence of the atrocities its citizens committed. In the middle falls Japan, Poland, and the United States. Japan falls closer to Germany, in part because Japan has officially apologized for many atrocities. But Japan is placed in a category distinct from Germany because of Japan's denial of specific atrocities, such as the existence of comfort women, and because of the repeated visits of Japanese officials to the Yasukuni Shrine, a site that celebrates the souls of war criminals. The United States is also in the middle, but it falls closer to Turkey than it does to Germany. The US is distinct from Turkey in that while Turkish officials deny the existence of the Armenian genocide, and Turkish law prohibits the suggestion that Turkey is responsible for a genocide the state does not even recognize, the federal and state officials in the US have not denied the existence of slavery in the United States and do not officially prohibit criticism of the government on the issue of slavery. Zubrzycki and Woźny suggest what made the German response to the Holocaust, Germany's role in World War I, and Germany's role in World War II successful in the end, or more recently, is that mainly national leaders led the country to accept historical responsibility. Rather than sweep the sordid actions of the past under the rug and pretend that what is true is false, Germany faced the atrocities squarely. While acknowledging that there is no way to compensate for the atrocities committed, the nation paid notable reparations, an act not only of material power, but even more so, of massive symbolic power. As such, reparations spoke to surviving victims and their relations, current and future citizens of the nation, and to other nations around the world. Reparations were a visible, largely external act, but Germany acted internally too. Notably, politicians and other would-be leaders who denied or minimized the atrocities or celebrated aspects of the Nazi era found their careers over and themselves ostracized. By engaging with integrity, even about committing despicable acts of horror, Germany navigated and eventually more or less repaired a sullied national identity. Certainly, as time has moved forward, there has been a resurgence of Nazi sympathies. But Germans' forthright denunciation of the Nazi past makes such a resurgence more difficult to fully proceed, even as the mere suggestion of a resurgence signals that in the face of crimes against humanity, the work of contrition and repair is never complete. Considering the German response to its atrocities, with respect to the slavery past, the United States has done much the opposite. Clearly, many politicians ride to power based in part on the strength of their opposition to any reflection on the nation's transgressions. This is possible because the country has resisted any sense of historical responsibility. In the summer of 1997, for example, President Bill Clinton very publicly considered apologizing for slavery. Even at the outset, he made it very clear he opposed reparations. After a short time, President Clinton then very publicly refused to issue a national apology for slavery. President Clinton read the short-term politics correctly. An ABC News poll found in 1997 that 88% of whites opposed reparations. Little has changed in the intervening years. In 2021, surveys indicated that only 19% of whites supported financial reparations, and only 39% of whites supported even a national apology for slavery. Clinton's political read was apt, and he used that read to maintain his success as a politician. But we can wonder, while President Clinton was effective when it came time to read the public, when it came time to lead the public, was he truly successful? As president, he had an opportunity to lead the country to address clear wrongs in a way that could have increased the strength, resilience, and capability of the nation. But he turned away from that opportunity, as many others have before and since. Thus, those wrongs continue to fester. It is hard not to see how those wrongs, by going unaddressed, are renewed every day in mundane actions like posting an advertisement that treats having been a slave quarters as an Airbnb amenity. The constant renewal of these atrocities continually undermines virtually every single enterprise a truly successful country will easily undertake. It is hard to imagine someone advertising luxury accommodations in Hotel Auschwitz. And the reason it is hard to imagine is that Germany did the hard work of remorse, reparations, and renewal, and is now a country strengthened to collectively address the challenges of the 21st century. Alas, one does not need to imagine someone advertising a plantation slave quarters as a luxury suite, for it actually is happening in the US and did happen as recently as the last Friday in July 2022. It is a sociological fact of collective memory, analogous to a similar psychological fact of individual memory. Unless and until the nation directly and fully addresses its role in committing and facilitating the clear wrongs of slavery, Jim Crow, lynching, and the associated atrocities, and thus interrupts the repeated renewal of those atrocities, the nation will continue to become less strong, less resilient, and less capable. And the continuation and exacerbation of that fragility, weakness, and incapability will be marked by the steady occurrence of one unimaginably insensitive moment after another. That's This Week in Sociological Perspective. We'll be back next week with another interview with an author of some important sociological research and more sociological insights on an issue in the news. Till then, take care. If you're watching this on YouTube, I have 3 brief requests and 1 offer to extend. My requests? If you like the show or episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. My offer? If you want to receive no more than 1 email a week with a link to the new TWiSP episode, click the link in the description and then enter your email address. By doing this, you assure you will be notified no more than once a week about new TWiSP episodes. Thanks.